The desert night was heavy, cloaked in an unsettling stillness. Nangam, a himba woman with deep reddish-brown skin glowing faintly under the moonlight, knelt before the smoldering fire outside her clay-walled hut. Her braids, coated in atjais, hung low as tears carved paths down her cheeks. In her trembling hands was her son's leather bracelet, the only piece left of him after his body was found by the river, lifeless and cold. The Himba village whispered of betrayal and bloodshed, but no one spoke aloud. Nangam's son had been murdered, and the elders said the spirits would reveal the truth in time. But Nangam's grief could not wait. Justice had to be done. The following morning, she sought the village diviner, a mysterious figure named Omakandi. His hut was on the outskirts, shrouded by tall acacia trees. Smoke curled from the doorway as she entered, the air thick with the scent of burning herbs. Omakandi, an elderly man with piercing eyes, sat cross-legged, his body adorned with charms and bones. "I seek justice," Nangam said, her voice breaking. "Tell me who took my son." Omakandi did not respond immediately. Instead, he produced a small calabash, its surface etched with strange, winding patterns that seemed to shift in the firelight. "This calabash holds the power of the ancestors and the desert spirits," he said. "Sing to it every night beneath the full moon. Your voice will summon a spirit that will deliver justice." Nangam hesitated, sensing a heaviness in the air, but her grief silenced her doubts. She clutched the calabash to her chest and left. That night, under a sky scattered with stars, Nangam began to sing. Her voice, low and mournful, filled the night air as she cradled the calabash. The winds picked up, swirling around her as if listening. The patterns on the calabash glowed faintly, and the fire beside her flickered unnaturally. By the third night, the lullaby echoed back to her. At first, it was faint, like a distant whisper, but then it grew louder, her voice, yet not her own. Nangam froze, staring at the calabash as a shadow began to form in the smoke above the fire. A figure emerged, tall and thin, its body wreathed in swirling black mist. Its face was featureless save for glowing red eyes. "You have summoned me," the entity hissed. "Your son's blood will be avenged." Nangam felt a surge of hope but also a growing unease. "What must I do?" The entity's voice was like sand scraping against stone. "Nothing. I will take what is owed." Over the next few days, strange accidents befell those Nangam had suspected of her son's murder. A man fell into the fire during a ceremony. Another drowned in the same river where her son had died. The village grew tense, and whispers of curses filled the air. On the final night, Nangam sang again, her voice stronger now, her grief slightly dulled by the thought of justice served. But as her song ended, the calabash began to tremble in her hands. The entity returned, larger and darker than before. "It is done," it said. "Now I take what is owed." "What do you mean?" Nangam asked, fear creeping into her voice. The entity's glowing eyes locked on hers. "Blood calls for blood. Your son's soul will rest, but your bloodline must end. The calabash demands it." Before she could react, Nangam felt the ground beneath her shift. Tendrils of shadow snaked out, wrapping around her ankles. The calabash grew unbearably hot, searing her hands as it fused to her flesh. Her screams echoed through the village as the fire flared, casting unnatural shapes against the huts. The next morning, Nangam's hut was found empty, save for the calabash sitting in the center of the floor. Its patterns were different now, etched to the face of a screaming woman. The villagers whispered of the cursed calabash, left untouched as a warning to those who sought vengeance through dark means. No one dared to touch it, but on full moon nights, some claimed to hear a lullaby, faint and haunting, carried on the desert wind.